Hello, big cats and kittens. This video is about present perfects. Now, this is a very useful but very feared tense. And often it's because the people learning this structure, learning this tense, don't have a similar grammar in their own language. And so it becomes this kind of quite scary, quite unnerving tense, which people often avoid using. So if we just have a very quick look at the structure of it, this is, if you're watching this video, it's probably nothing new to you. So have or has plus past participle. So for example, I have seen, he has done, she has driven, etc. So take took taken, seesaw seen. So that third form, that past participle, that's where it's going. So I'm not going to focus much on the grammar point here because you all know it, but the most important thing is how is it used? And this is where people start to feel a bit nervous or on edge. So firstly, it's used for unfinished time periods. For example, this year, this month, this semester, today. Okay, so if that time period is still open, still unfinished, then we can use present perfect. So for example, have you had breakfast? I'm not talking about yesterday, I'm definitely talking about today, because today is unfinished. It's also used for actions or situations in the past where the specific time is not important or it's not known. Okay, so either we don't care or we don't know. For example, I've been to New Zealand. So when is not important, but what is important is that you have been there. And it's also used for actions or states that are still true now. So they happened in the past, but they are still true now. For example, I've broken my arm. Okay, so just from the tense choice, we know that the arm is still broken now. Or I've taken medicine. Well, we have a good feeling just from that tense that the effect of that medicine is still happening now. Or the medicine is taken recently, so it's still in the body. So unfinished time periods, actions in the past, but without a specific time on them. So you wouldn't say I've been to New Zealand in 2005. And we have actions or states that are still true now. Okay, so something happened, but the effect of that is still true now, or still happening now. Now the big question, when is it not used? So what are the most common mistakes that we can think about? So we never use it with a month, a year, a season, or last Monday, last December, last spring, or any finished time with a present perfect sentence. So I have seen him in 2009. No, that's finished. So anything where it's finished, we're just thinking about simple past. So I saw him in 2009. We have been to Italy last year. Well, again, last year, it's a finished period of time. You can say this year. So we have been to Italy this year. That's okay. But not last year. Last year is finished. He has lost it yesterday. Now, if we take away yesterday, so he has lost it, then we get the feeling that he never found it. So it is still lost. However, putting that yesterday on it, you're actually talking about the action of losing. Okay, so that's a finished period, so we can't use that with present perfect. And I have studied German in high school. Now, for everybody watching this video, that high school is finished for you. So even though it's not a time expression as such, it's not a year or a day or a month, it's still a time period. High school, middle school, elementary school, these are all time periods also. So in this case, just I studied German in high school. So if we think of present perfect versus simple past, if we just look at these two sentences, so my parents married 25 years ago, my parents have been married for 25 years. Now, there are slight differences. One is a passive sentence, but the key thing here is my parents married 25 years ago. Are they still married? Well, we don't know. Not from the sentence, maybe. Whereas my parents have been married for 25 years. It's communicating that they are still married now. Okay, so the choice of tense gives the listener, gives the other person a lot of information about whether something is finished or something is still true. So let's think about using it with the art of conversation, right? So how would we continue this conversation? Now, this is in no way dating this video, but have you seen Tiger King, the documentary? Now, person B, the answer might be no, or the answer might be yes. But how do we continue the conversation, especially if the answer is no? So let's imagine the situation, you chatting to somebody, have you seen Tiger King? No. And there is a long pause. Well, how can we continue that conversation? So we could explain. Well, explain why not. Okay. Or we could ask a related question back. Yeah. So notice I say a related question, not ask the same question back. And we could give some related information. So even though we're saying no, we could still give some related information. So for example, explaining why not. So you could say, oh, that's on Netflix, isn't it? Yeah, I had Netflix before, but I cancelled my subscription and I went for Disney Plus. Okay, so you're saying no, but you're continuing the conversation. Similarly, oh no, I saw the trailer for it, but it didn't look like my kind of thing. I was too worried about the animals already. Okay, so again, you're communicating why not. You're not just saying, no, I haven't. Have you seen it? No, I haven't. All right, so the next one was asking a related question. So no, I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot about it. Would you recommend it? So you notice you're not just asking the same question back. Because it sounds somewhat aggressive. It's like, have you seen Tiger King? No. Have you seen Tiger King? It sounds like you're upset by the question. Also, not a great conversation tactic, just to reflect the question back at the other person. And the third way was to give some related information. So you're not explaining, you're just giving related information. So no, I haven't, but I saw a different documentary about the guy a few years ago. So I feel like I got a good idea what the show would be like. Or, no, I haven't seen it, but I saw the last must-watch thing on Netflix, Love is Blind. Oh, that's pretty addictive. So again, in no way dating this video, talking about Tiger King and Love is Blind on the same video. Okay, so that's our 3 techniques for maintaining the art of conversation. So We are giving related information, we're asking questions, or we're explaining why not. So some useful expressions in a conversation would be something like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in ages." Very natural expression. And again, we're talking about unfinished periods of time or non-specific periods. I've had a great time. So imagine you're leaving a party or you're leaving someone's birthday get together. I've had a great time. It was lovely. Thank you so much. Have you heard? So imagine if you say, "Have you heard?" This sounds like you have got something really juicy to tell people. So maybe it's a nice bit of gossip, or maybe it's something really important. What have you been up to recently, or what have you been up to lately? Now, up to is a very casual way of just saying doing. What have you been doing lately? But in a very natural way, a very casual way, you can say up to. What have you been up to lately? Okay, and again, it's just kind of been saying, how are you? Yeah, how have you been? Very similar. So how have you been? How have you been doing? What have you been up to? Kind of tell me about your life since I last saw you. Okay, so we talked about present perfect, why a lot of people are afraid of it, but you shouldn't be. We talked about when to use it and when not to use it. We talked about how to maintain a conversation. And we talked about some useful expressions. So these are all great kind of conversation starters or conversation enders or conversation continuers. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I hope this was useful.